I drove 11 hours straight to get to that place, and for the last 40 minutes my cell phone had no signal. The GPS had turned into a useless blue screen, and the last sign I saw said, "Next town, 67 miles." Let me tell you why I was there, and why I'm never going back. 6 months earlier, my uncle died. He wasn't that cool uncle who gives you money on your birthday. He was the weird uncle, the one who showed up at Christmas reeking of cheap cigarettes and diesel, talking about trails and mountains like they were the only thing that mattered in the world. Uncle Dennis. He had a cabin in the Appalachians, right in the middle of nowhere, and when he died, heart attack at 58 alone, found 3 days later by the mailman, he left that cabin to me in his will. Just to me. My parents were pissed, my sister too, but me, I saw an opportunity because I'd been unemployed for 4 months. Living in a 350-square-foot apartment in North Carolina, where I paid $1,300 in rent to listen to my neighbor making noise at 2 in the morning. So I thought, I'll go there, take some photos, put it on Airbnb, and boom, passive income. And that's what I did. The trip was normal until I crossed the border from North Carolina into Tennessee. From there, things changed. The trees became different, denser, darker. You know when you look at a forest and it just seems like trees? Not there. There it felt like it had weight, like the forest was looking back. I know how that sounds. Oh, the forest was watching me. I'd roll my eyes too if someone told me that at a bar. But I'm talking about a physical sensation. Like when you walk into a room and you know someone just had a fight there. That strange energy in the air. That's what it was. For miles. The road started climbing, sharp curves, 600-foot drops with no guardrails. And every 15-20 minutes I'd see a white cross on the side of the road. I counted 14 crosses in 20 miles. There's more. On 3 of them there were fresh flowers. Fresh flowers. Who the hell drives up every single day to change flowers at an accident that happened God knows when? At mile marker 198, I found a gas station. It looked straight out of a 1970s movie. Had a manual pump. No recognizable brand signs, just gas hand-painted on a wooden board. I thought it was strange, but I went in. The man behind the counter was about 70 years old. White beard. Tennessee Volunteers cap so old the logo was faded. He looked at me, looked at my car through the window, a 2019 Civic rental, and asked, "You lost?" "No," I said. "I'm going to my uncle's property, Dennis Halloway. Did you know him?" The old man was silent for about 5 seconds, just staring at me. Then he spit into a plastic cup next to him, I swear to God, and said, "That cabin." It wasn't a question, it was a statement. "Yeah," I answered. "I inherited it, gonna take a look, fix some things up, maybe sell." He snorted, like a short, dry laugh. "Nobody buys anything around here and nobody stays." "Why?" "Because they're smart." And he simply went back to watching a tiny TV playing a baseball game with no sound. While I was filling the tank, I noticed something. There was nobody there. No other cars, no traffic sounds, nothing. And look, I'm used to 24-hour noise, but that was aggressive silence, like the world had put on noise-canceling headphones. I got back in the car, started the ignition, and the radio that had been playing country shut off by itself. Didn't change stations, shut off. I turned it back on, worked fine. Okay, interference, normal in the mountains. I continued driving. Uncle Dennis's property was at mile marker 247 on State Route 319. When I arrived, it was almost 7 p.m. The sun was starting to drop behind the mountains, and the light was that sickly orange that looks like an Instagram filter, but in real life is disturbing. The entrance was a dirt road, didn't even have a gate, just 2 rotten wooden posts, one on each side, and a rusty chain on the ground. I followed it for about half a mile uphill. The cabin appeared, and it was exactly what you imagine when you think isolated cabin in a horror movie. Dark wood, porch sagging on one side, foggy windows, and a smell in the air I couldn't identify. It wasn't rot, It wasn't mold. It was old. Like the air itself was 50 years old. I turned off the car, and I noticed silence again, but this time worse, because no birds, no insects, no wind in the leaves. Nothing. I grabbed the key, which was in a crumpled yellow envelope the lawyer had given me, climbed the 3 porch steps, the second one creaked loudly, and opened the door. The smell hit me like a punch. Old cigarettes, mold, and that smell of a place closed up for months. But there was something else, something metallic, like dried blood, but it wasn't blood. I turned on the light. It worked. Thank God it worked. The living room was small. Old brown couch, coffee table with 3 hunting magazines from 2019, stone fireplace unlit with ashes still inside, and on the wall, maps, like lots of maps, topographic, hand-drawn with notes in red pen, circles, X's, arrows pointing to random places on the mountain, and on the biggest one, right in the center, a phrase written in capital letters, "Don't go down after 8 p.m. I looked at my watch. It was 7:47 p.m. I'm not stupid. When you see a damn warning like that written by the guy who lived there, you take it seriously. I locked the door, checked the windows. All had old latches, but they worked. I sat on the couch. Turned on my phone. No signal, obviously. Tried Wi-Fi. Nothing. Okay, first night. Tomorrow I'll clean up, photograph, and leave. Simple. At 8:14 p.m. with nothing to do, I was almost falling asleep when I heard it. Crack. A branch breaking outside. Close, like about 30 feet from the porch. I got up, went to the window, looked. Total darkness. The porch light wasn't on. I didn't even know where the switch was. And the moon was hidden behind clouds. I saw nothing. Went back to the couch. At 8:31 p.m., crack, crack. 2 branches closer. And then a smell. Strong, animal, like a wet dog had rubbed against the door. But there was no dog. I knew there was no dog. I stayed still, heart beating like 140 BPM, hands sweating. And then I heard the thing that scared the shit out of me. Scratching at the door. It wasn't wind, it wasn't a branch. It was nails or claws. Something dragging slowly on the wood of the front door. Scratch. I stayed 40 minutes sitting on that couch without moving. The sound stopped after about 15 minutes, but I didn't have the courage to go to the door, and I didn't sleep. I stayed there, staring at the ceiling, listening to every creak of the cabin's old wood, until sunrise. Dawn broke. 6:12 in the morning. I saw it on the kitchen wall clock. I carefully opened the door, looked outside. Nothing. No footprints, no visible scratches. The wood was too old to show them. But the smell was there. That animal smell, strong, recent. I went back inside, went to explore the house. 2 bedrooms, 1 tiny bathroom, kitchen that looked like it was from the 80s. And in the back room where my uncle slept, I started searching, and under the bed. A notebook. Hardcover, brown, worn. I opened it. First page. Activity log. Dennis Holloway, March 2018. I read it. And man, I read everything. Because what was in there wasn't a diary. It was scientific documentation. Uncle Dennis wasn't crazy. He was documenting. I'm going to tell you what was in that notebook. But first you need to understand something. The Appalachian Mountains are OLD. Like geologically, they're the oldest mountains in North America. 480 million years old. Older than the Andes. Older than the Rockies. And deep in those forests, far from any tourist trail, there are things. Not spirits, not ghosts, real things. Dennis wrote about what he thought were bears. But not normal bears. Bears that had learned to mimic human sounds. I know, sounds crazy. But he documented it with dates, times, patterns. On the first page of the notebook, entered March 12, 2018. Heard it again today. 9:40 p.m., woman's voice screaming help. Same tone, same duration, 4.2 seconds. Came from the northeast direction about 600 feet. Didn't go down. I know what it is. Entry, March 19th, 2018. Found deer remains 1 to 300 feet from the cabin. Ribs broken. Bite mark 4.3 inches wide. It's the big one. He's coming back earlier this year. Entry, April 4th, 2018. Warning. The big one figured out the porch light pattern. Yesterday he stood in front of it for 7 minutes, watching, turned everything off. He left after 20 minutes. There's more. Much more. But what made me drop the notebook and start packing my things to leave was the last entry. Entry, August 26, 2023, 3 days before his death. He learned how to turn the doorknob. I should have left right then, but I didn't, because I'm an idiot. During the day it all seemed absurd. Bear that imitates voices, that turns doorknobs. Even the Discovery Channel has shown that some animals are intelligent. But this seemed like an old paranoid man's exaggeration. So I did what any rational person would do. I decided to stay one more night, to be sure, to know if it had been my imagination, travel fatigue, or real. I spent the day exploring, found old trail cameras hanging from trees, all without batteries for weeks. I took the memory cards from the cameras. Back at the cabin, I put them in my laptop, which still had about 60% battery. What I saw, I wish I'd never seen. File 1 date 04/03/2023, 9 to 34 p.m. Black and white image. Motion sensor caught something. And then, the thing entered the frame. Large quadruped bear, definitely. But it stopped, turned its head directly toward the camera, and stared for 7 minutes, without moving, just staring. File 2, date 06/15/2023, Dent Basso 1 p.m. Same trail, same bear, you could tell by the absurd size, definitely over 650 pounds. This time it approached the camera, rose up on its hind legs only, and sniffed the lens. The sound in the video was clear, and then it made a sound that wasn't from a bear. It was a laugh. No, it wasn't a laugh. It was an imitation of human laughter, like when you try to imitate someone laughing but in an exaggerated way, 3 times. And it left. File 3, date 08/20/2023, 11:47 p.m. This was the worst one. The camera was pointed at the cabin, my cabin. And in the video you could see Uncle Dennis on the porch, sitting in a rocking chair, smoking. Just that for about 4 minutes. Then the bear entered the frame. Slowly, silently, it approached the porch stairs and stopped. Dennis kept smoking, motionless. The bear climbed the first step. Dennis threw the cigarette on the ground, stamped it out with his boot, and said you could hear it in the audio. "Not today, buddy." The bear went down and left. I shut the laptop, looked at the clock. 6:51 p.m. Part 8, the second night. I had 2 options. Get in the car and get the hell out right that second. Or lock everything, stay alert, and leave early in the morning with daylight. I chose the second. Why? Because that half-mile road to the highway was narrow, full of potholes and without any light. And I didn't want to meet that thing in the middle of the road. I locked the doors, all of them. Checked the windows, all locked. Turned on all the lights in the house. And sat on the couch, with a large kitchen knife in my hand. Yes, ridiculous. A knife against a 650-pound bear. I didn't stand a chance. But it was what I had. 8:15 p.m. The first sound. Branch breaking about 60 feet away. Closer. And the smell. That dense smell of wild animal. 8:28 p.m. Footsteps on the porch. They weren't light. They were heavy, making the wood creak under the weight. 3 steps. Stop. And then I heard it. "Hello?" Female voice. High-pitched, clear. "Is anyone there?" My entire body froze, because there was nobody within at least 30 miles. And that voice was too perfect. Artificial, like a parrot repeating. "Help, please." Same intonation, robotic. I need help. Footsteps again. Circling the house. Going to the side. To the back. I didn't move. Stayed on the couch with the knife in my hand. Eyes wide. And then... knocking on the back bedroom window. Delicate. 3 knocks. Pause. Again. No broken glass, the latch was locked. But that thing was testing. Learning my movements. Sign so 2 p.m. Suddenly silence. Nothing for 15 minutes. I started thinking it had left. And then I heard it at the front door. The doorknob turning. Slowly testing. Locked. Thank God locked. But then... third. Weight against the door. It pressed its entire body against it. The wood groaned. And it started scratching. Not fast, slow. Like it had all the time in the world. I stayed there until 2:34 in the morning. When the sound stopped. When the smell disappeared. And when I finally heard crickets again. At 6 a.m. Dawn broke and I saw daylight. I packed everything in 4 minutes, threw it in my suitcase, left half my stuff behind, got in the car, started the ignition, and went down that dirt road so fast that when I realized it, I'd already reached the highway. When I got to the road, I breathed. Okay, it's over. I'm leaving, never coming back. I accelerated and decided to check the rearview mirror. And it was there, I saw it, on the side of the road, standing among the trees. The bear, it was watching. At me. Even though I was going about 50 mph, I saw it. It rose up on its hind legs, was about 8 feet tall, and waved, raised its right front paw, and did this little wave goodbye. I didn't stop. Drove straight to Knoxville Airport, 4.5 hours without stopping, left the rental car, caught the first flight, and never went back. 3 months later, obsessively researching the Appalachians, I found an academic article from 1987. Title: Anomalous Behavior in Ursus americanus. Documented cases of vocal mimicry in isolated population of the Appalachian Mountains. Summary: Group of black bears in a specific region of Tennessee, near mile marker 240 of Route 319, developed unique adaptive behavior, imitation of human vocalizations to attract potential prey, deer, other animals that associate human voice with food safety. Probable mechanism: trial and error learning over generations. Population isolated for at least 200 years. Level of sophistication increasing each decade. Last documented observation, 1985. Project cancelled due to lack of funding. I called 3 of the authors. 2 had died. The third, Dr. Richard Kowalski, retired 81 years old, answered. I told him my story. He was silent for about 20 seconds. Then said, they're evolving faster than we predicted. We underestimated them, and now I think it's too late to study safely. And hung up. The part I haven't told anyone, until now, before leaving the cabin that last morning, I looked at the maps on the wall again, and noticed something I hadn't seen before. All the red circles, all the X's, formed a pattern. When you connected the dots, they drew a territory, like a property map. And in the center, written in small letters, Hunting Zone, Dennis Halloway. But there was another note below. Recent, blue pen. Hunting Zone his, don't trespass anymore. Uncle Dennis didn't live there by choice. He lived there because he'd made a deal. He didn't go down after 8 p.m. And the bear didn't come in during the day. A deal. With an animal. And when he died, the deal ended. To this day I think about it. That wave, it wasn't a threat. It was acknowledgement. Like, okay, you understood, you can go this time. I sold the property for peanuts to a lumber company, online, without visiting. They demolished everything in 2 weeks. And you know what happened. 3 workers disappeared during the demolition. They found 2, lost in the forest, disoriented. The third was never found. The company abandoned the project. If you're ever driving on Route 319 in Tennessee, Between mile markers 240 and 250, don't stop. Don't get out of the car. And if you hear someone asking for help on the side of the road after sunset, keep driving, 'cause it's not someone. It's something that learned that imitating works, and it's getting better and better.